Smile. I think we may be live on Facebook. Let's just take a peek. Yes, it looks like, yes, we're live on Facebook. All right, great. So now that we've launched that rocket. Live on Facebook. All right, let me just take a peek. All right, I'm going to turn my volume off on the phone. Okay. All right. You can go to my page and I can go ahead and introduce you.
Okay, so you want me to go to your page real quick so I'll get out of this real quick?
No, hang over just a second.
Okay.
Let me introduce you.
Okay.
So, greetings and welcome everyone to Psychic Mediums Live. I'm your host, Kevin Paul, Psychic and Medium. I'm living in Washington, D.C. And today my special guest is Tessa Mauro, who is a paranormal investigator, the host of Paranormal Prowlers Podcast, and the author of her book, Paranormal Prowlers, I'm Always With You. As you can see, she is a very accomplished young woman. And tonight we're going to talk about her journey into the paranormal, some of her investigations, show and talk about some of her paranormal evidence, and then take your questions about the paranormal at the end. And please place your questions in the comments section and we will get to them after the interview. So welcome, Tessa, and thank you for being on my show.
Kevin, thank you. The pleasure is absolutely all mine. I was so excited when you asked me to be on. It's an honor.
Absolutely. We haven't met in person, but you did feature some of my paranormal investigations on your special spooky Halloween podcast, so I appreciate that.
Oh, it was so much fun reading them. And yeah, I definitely have to have you on the podcast at some point too.
Yeah, you name the topic, I'm sure I can talk. So I'm going to let you go ahead and try to share onto your page. And I'm going to, let's see, good. Robin, I see you're on. Cheryl Hicks is watching. We've got Carrie Lipscomb says, hi, Tessa.
Oh, Kari, that's my honorary mother. Kari, I love her.
So Tessa has just popped off to go to her page, the Paranormal Prowlers Facebook page, to share this. And
sorry, it won't take me long. Oh,
she'll be right back. She'll be right back. We just see her name on the screen. Did you find it?
You know what? For some reason, okay, I'm coming back. For some reason, what's happening, Kevin, is that it's like Facebook is needing permission for this and that and that, and it's like doing all these weird roadblocks. So
so what we'll do, we'll share it after. Once it's done, you can share it to your page.
Okay, so I don't know if you're able to hear my voice, but when you said Kari, that's my honorary mother. I absolutely love her. I'm so glad she's listening and watching.
Oh, Michael Bill is watching, and
Michael Bill, my friend.
Oh, you got your fans out there. Good. Let's see here, Gina and Stacy and Stacy Rosati. Hi, happy holidays. Daniela is watching. I can't pronounce some of these last names. There we are, DBG, David Flaherty, who I did a show with on the Witch of Endor from the Bible, talking about this psychic medium that's referenced in the Bible. So we had a really fun show on our pre-Halloween special. So welcome everybody. Welcome. We're two zombies today because both she and I have had a rough day today. So we kind of feel like little zombies, and but it's exciting to do a show. It kind of gets us up and going and happy, to be able to talk about the paranormal. So tell me, Tessa, about your journey into the field of the paranormal. How did you get there? And I'll tell you a bit about
I've been a lifelong fan of the paranormal, Kevin. I have been in love with it since a child. My mom even said that when I was around 2 years old, we were living in California and we were driving, and we would drive past like a cemetery or a graveyard. And I would be in my little child's, kid's seat in the back. And all of a sudden I go, Mommy, let's go. We stop. Me walk. Graveyard. Me walk. My mom's like, how the heck do you even know what a graveyard is? And she'd say, no, Tessa, I don't want to take you there. And I would be like, wah! And I would be screaming and kicking. But I've always have just had a fascination with the dead, with the spirits, and with the burial grounds and everything, and I've been investigating for about 10 years, but like I said, I've been a fan my whole life. So even before I had the tools to investigate, I would go to places like Alcatraz or Winchester or in St. Francisville, Louisiana, the Myrtles Plantation, just different places like that, just doing like little kid investigations or whatever. Just, I love the history about those places. And I'm so in tune with it. I just absolutely adore it. Everywhere I go that's new, I'm like, okay, what kind of history happened here? Who died here? What happened? I just want to find out stuff. And so
that's your investigative goal, right? Is to understand the history, number one.
Right. Yeah. Understand the history. And yeah, I just adore communicating with the spirits. And yeah, I always tell people I would be the most boring person on planet Earth if it weren't for the paranormal. Like, seriously, I would just be the plain Jane, boring broad. And so it's like.
So it's something that you've been interested in since you were little, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
For me, it hasn't been since I was little, even though I knew I kind of had some kind of connection with spirit, talking with them or just knowing that they're there. But I didn't start doing investigations until about 5 or 6 years ago myself. And, I didn't have a team. And as a psychic and medium, I guess you've got your own tools and you go in. And I remember the first investigation I went on with a friend, we were like, okay, we're so nervous. What are we going to do? What's going to happen? And we got in and we realized, really, there's nothing here. This is a poltergeist kind of environment where the energy from the person who lived there her energy was like all into that space and making all sorts of things move, or, it's really her energy rather than an outside active. So it was kind of like a wah, 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 kind of a thing. I was like, we didn't feel anything, but we did a nice cleansing and everything.
Oh yeah, that's good.
So it's important. So what is your goal when you do an investigation, and what kind of equipment do you use? Do you do a team? Take us through that.
Yeah, so I found my team, Paranormal Prowlers, several years back, close to 10 years. And it's a group of great people, and we have several different tools. Usually my favorite tool is the digital recorder, just because it captures the energy, it captures, the emotions, the evidence, like, audio EVPs, the electronic voice phenomenon. Right. Just everything. And so if I had to take one tool with me, that's what that would be for sure. But I have different tools as well, like different EMF meters, and which those are okay. Some, I stay clear from some of them just because it's like a microwave can set it off, but right. I don't like that. But yeah, I do different things. I have Ovilus, spirit boxes, different things like that.
What's your favorite piece of equipment?
The digital recorder, for sure.
So you want to hear the audio, right?
Oh yeah, I'm a total audio gal. If I had to take only one thing, hands down, that's what it would be, is that even though I've done this for so many years and I've collected hundreds of EVPs, every single one I get is special to me. And it's like, I feel like a kid with Christmas. It's like, I'm so excited. It's like a present, from the deceased. And so to me, that's pretty awesome. And I also do solo investigations too. So I have my team, and they're based out of Colorado, where I'm at right now. So I'll probably do some investigating, but I do solo too when I'm driving from North Carolina to Colorado. So I've done like Waverly and, different Sloss furnaces, different things, different awesome places like that too. And some people kind of frown, upon, oh, if you're by yourself, I don't know. They're just kind of, naysayers about that. But for me, it's like, if I'm by myself and I'm driving somewhere and I go past Waverly Hills, oh, I'm sorry, I can't go because no one's with me. No, I mean, I'm missing out, and so I don't know. For me, I just do, I go hard.
So what's your purpose when you are going on these investigations?
I just really want to truly know more about the paranormal. I feel like I learn a little after each investigation, as none are the same. You know, you could go somewhere 10 times and you're going to get 10 different investigations, you know, different results and stuff. So I just really enjoy communicating with the spirits and seeing if I could help them in any way, just different things like that.
How can you help a spirit? What is it? Give me an example of where you've actually helped a spirit. In what sense?
Well, there's been people that were close to me that have passed away, like former best friends and different things like that, where I have communicated with them and I've gotten EVPs and they've given me messages for mutual friends.
Mm-hmm. It sounds
Yeah.
like what a psychic medium does. We will connect with your past loved one and then provide you evidence either for you or for you, evidence or information for you or for you to pass on to somebody else. Usually it's not always for you. Sometimes it can be for your friend or your, the loved one or somebody
Right.
else that they were really close to.
Yeah,
Have you
absolutely.
do you always do your EVPs on site?
No, not always. You know, I hate to say this, but sometimes it actually takes me several weeks to listen to my audio. Um, I need to start doing that though. I do, but at some, sometimes.
Because you can't hear it while you're doing the recording, right? Usually.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you do this investigation and you have to go and process the information later
Yeah.
to see, okay, we got some amazing stuff, or oh crap, this one was kind of a quiet day or a quiet night.
Well, Kevin, it's interesting because I can't say I've ever been involved with like a super dead, no point intended, investigation. Like
You always got something, right?
I'm always, yeah, I'm not saying it's like always like insane and intense and like I know I'm always debunking things and whatever, but there's always something that's like kind of going on. But yeah, there's definitely more places that are way more active. But yeah, that's
What's your favorite place? What was been your favorite place to investigate?
I would have to say probably Tombstone. Tombstone, Arizona. That is a phenomenal place. It's actually where I got my attachment with a man who was legally hanged in 1883. I would have to
Tell us
say,
about
yeah, it was pretty intense. But I would have to say Wat Tarbell Mortuary is a pretty intense place to investigate. I've been there twice already. I went there once in 2016, and it's actually a chapter in my book. And then I just went this last September. And it is in September where I got to see Kari, if she's still listening and watching. And she's hopefully, fingers crossed, going with me next year for my birthday. And it's just a really neat place. The people that are buried in Boot Hill in Tombstone, with the exception of, I believe, 4 or 5, they've all went through that mortuary. And it's really interesting because back in the 1800s, that mortuary had, I believe, 6 or 7 full-time caretakers, and like full-time, where back then, San Francisco, Chicago, Los Angeles, basically the places that are like Copping now, they had 1 or 2 part-timers. And so it was very busy in there. And some of the evidence we're going to go over with the pictures, that some of that is at that mortuary, and we could talk more about that then. But yeah, very active there. The spirits, they have resident spirits that they know. They have their little mannerisms. Like there's one little boy there who loves messing with people's feet, their shoes. They're like, okay, this kid, he loves to tie people's shoe laces and mess with them or whatever. And I was wearing what I call lazy man shoes or lazy woman shoes, whatever, they just slip on, you don't have to tie them or anything. And I was like, well, joke's on the kid because I don't have shoelaces. And like a couple of minutes later, all of a sudden I feel a thwap on my foot, and there was nobody next to me, nothing. We were, there wasn't a draft or wind or, anything. We couldn't explain it. And we all started laughing because we knew what it was. And then at that same point, I had a periscope on my lap, which is a EMF meter. And I like that one because I've tested it before with microwave and different things, and it doesn't go off. And so it went off as soon as like right after that happened. And so just a really, really neat location with a lot of history, a lot of spirits. And actually, when we were there just this last time, a woman said, the owner, Nora, she's awesome. She was like, okay, I think you brought somebody here with you. And it was really interesting. I'm the kind of person that I love rocks. I'm a rock buff. Like I love, there's an old mine close to where I live. And sometimes I'll like go digging around and stuff. And it's like where amethysts were and stuff. And I could find amethysts and crystals. Right. I like to take rocks with me. And I don't think anything of it. Like, I don't think I'm stealing or anything because I'm not going to like a gem store. I'm like, getting it off the ground.
Right.
And so I'll go somewhere, like we went to Wyatt Earp's house in Tombstone, and I find this cool little rock, and I'm like, I'm going to grab that bad boy, So I take it and I put it in my pocket and I go on with my day. And that was like around 9 a.m. And then later on, I end up, we go to the courthouse where the gallows are, and it's a replica of the gallows that they made. They made gallows back in the day for specific people, then they would destroy them or whatever. This was a replica of the gallows that they hanged the man that attached to me. And it was a special gallows because it was for 5 men at the same time. And so I was under the gallows, and I'm all cowboyed out with my little outlaw hat and like, whatever. And
and I see good outfits. I've seen them.
And I see this like really cool looking rock, and I'm like, oh, I want to take that bad boy too, And it was interesting because when I take rocks, I don't feel like I'm like, whatever, it's a rock. But at this point, when I grabbed it, as soon as I touched it, I was like, like I felt weird. I felt like, okay, someone's watching me. And I don't like, it didn't mean like spirit, maybe somebody, but I looked and all you see are the windows in the courthouse. And I'm just like, I feel really weird. And I don't know why, but I still did it. I put it in my purse and I'm like, okay, whatever. So fast forward at the mortuary, the woman, she has it's kind of like a spirit box, and I don't remember the name, but it's a lot clearer and not as much noise.
Oh, that's static noise in the background.
Yeah. And she has it going, and the man keeps saying taking and pocket. And she's like, and then she even told me earlier, I think you brought a man with you. You brought a visitor, an unwanted visitor. He's not one of our spirits. What are you doing here? And he's kind of aggressive or whatever. And I'm just like, and she's like, she looked at me, and she met me just that first time for the night. And she's like, you get attachments. Like, you are prone, you attract these spirits and they stay with you. And it was really interesting. But yeah, so she said pocket, what does that mean? And I had to laugh, and I was like, oh, because it was so earlier that day, like this was like 10 at night, and this was 9 a.m. So I had to remember, I'm like, oh yeah, I took a rock from Wyatt Earp's place and put it in my pocket. And then I also got a rock from the gallows, and I put it in my purse pocket. And she's like, you need to release them immediately. She's like, you need to put those back, get rid of them. You need to do it now. Right? Yeah. And then this man's voice comes on saying, before sundown or before sunrise. And she's like, now, no, she's like, she's having a long night here. She's leaving tomorrow morning, first thing.
Don't get all worried about it.
Yeah. She's like, she'll release it. So it's like, I didn't even know that this like spirit was like following us around going, girl, you better give me those rocks back, put them back. Like, he was babysitting us all day, basically, because he followed us all the way to the mortuary, and we went everywhere.
Well, do you know why? I'm just going to give you some of my sense of why you're attracted. I feel that because of your lovely energy. I mean, you really are like a young energy, kind of interested, good intentions, a mind towards history, and a mind towards kind of honoring these spirits, that they're going to notice that, and they're going to be wanting to hang out with you. And it's not like they're like, they want to, I just feel like they just want to hang out because you're such a wonderful soul and they recognize it. And they're going to communicate with you through your tools. But yeah,
Right.
I'm not surprised that they want to hang out with you, and because of who you are and your energy. So that's the way I would interpret it. So it's
Oh,
a
well,
good
thank
thing.
you.
It really
Yeah,
is a
that
good thing.
is a
And
good
if you don't want them, you can tell them. I always tell people, you're
Yeah.
more powerful than they are. You can say, thank you very much for visiting. Come back again. But it's time for you to go. Like I say, talking to a small child, get out, stop doing that or whatever. But I think they love
Right.
your energy. I really do.
Thank you. Sorry, hold on real quick. I got the snifflies. Hold on.
Okay, we're gonna look at the bicycle in the background. Oh, that looks like a
I'm at the
cool bike.
garage.
A friend of mine could use that bike. Mr. David Cannell, if you're watching, I bet you could use that bike because yours is broke today.
Hey, it's a killer bike, I tell you. What was interesting, Kevin, was that when this man attached himself to me, his name was Red Sample, and he was part of, people who are from Arizona or are Arizona history buffs, they'll know what I'm talking about when I talk about the Bisbee Massacre. It was this horrible thing that happened. I kind of talked I kind of talked to you about it yesterday, but these guys were part of what's called the Cochise County Cowboys, and they were outlaws. This store, they would get the money throughout the day from the Queen Mine. I think it was called like the Queen Copper Mine. I should know this, but I always it's like one of those things that I forget the name. But anyway, they came too early because the money from the mine hadn't made it yet. And so they had people on the lookout outside and people inside robbing. And there's some commotion going on, and one guy starts to walk over and he's like, "Hey, I want in." And the two guys are like, "No, you just go on your own way, walk away, don't come in here." And the guy fought them, and he ended up getting introduced to a Winchester repeating rifle, and he was shot dead right there. A little restaurant was right across the street. A police officer was there eating dinner with his wife. He comes out and he's not in uniform, and he asks them, he's like, "What's going on?" They said, "Just leave." And he's like, "I can't do that. I'm the law." And they said, "Well, you're the one we want." They shoot him and kill him. The owner of the restaurant, who's this pregnant woman, she comes out, they shoot her and the baby die later that night. I mean, it was just like this horrible thing. Like, so many people, it's a massacre that was supposed to be a robbery, and a robbery is bad too, but it's just like this, like, one crime turns into this heinous, unspeakable crime, many victims involved, and it was just crazy. So all these men were hanged. There were 5 of them.
Oh, okay.
Red Sample, Tex Howard, Bill Delaney, Dan Dowd. It's just like several different, people. And it was really insane. One of the mastermind, actually, he actually wanted to be part of the search party. They didn't know he was the man responsible for this, but he was playing like, "Oh, I want to help you guys," or whatever. And they ended up finding out about him. The 5 men were sentenced to be legally hanged when the mastermind, John Heath, he was wife. And the people, they were in Tombstone at this point, mind you. This happened in Bisbee, but just like 20 miles away is Tombstone. Right. They ended up breaking him out of jail and lynching John Heath. And there's this famous picture of him hanging by a telephone pole. It's pretty graphic, but
oh my God.
So he actually was the guy who got life was killed before the man sentenced to death. So it's, it was interesting that he died, like, I think a month or 2 before the death rowers. And so, but anyways, Red Sample's the man who attached himself to me. And there were times where I would just be sitting there by myself and I'd feel perfect on top of the world. And all of a sudden I would be like, like, I would literally felt like I was being strangled. And mind you, I didn't know at the time what was happening. I just knew something wasn't right, but it was crazy. And he stayed with me for well over a month. Like, it was ridiculous. I thought I was dying.
The way I would describe it, because you are a clairsentient, somebody who is going to gather information by sensing it and feeling it and kind of knowing it. So what you were doing is, as a psychic in that sense, you were just kind of reliving the emotional energy. You were kind of gathering it and actually feeling it, very physical mediumship as well.
Yeah, it
You were
was
just
crazy.
you were just picking up on it, and you were really feeling it. Not everyone feels it like that, but
Right.
that seems to be one of your superpowers, is you can really, you can
Uh,
feel it. You're very sensitive, so you're going to really
yeah.
feel it.
Yeah.
Um,
And one of the weird things, Kevin, I mean, it was all weird, but there was one weird thing that
let me see if I can
at
find
this
the
point,
picture.
huh?
I think you had a picture of that, right?
Yes.
I'm looking for it. Keep talking.
At one point, here I am. My mom, she hired me to close down a business of hers. So there were times where I was just by myself all the time, all day, working, working, and working. And I I would like hear footsteps. I would like, and this was during my attachment. And I would
Hmm.
get a recorder when I felt like I wasn't by myself, and I would be silent. And all of a sudden you would just hear a man, like a man breathing heavily. And mind you, nobody else was there but me. And just a lot
Mm.
of weird, eerie things. It's like, talk about taking your work home with you.
Right now, do you do anything to kind of open yourself up prior to, in a ritual, to kind of close things out and say, okay, now we're done, everyone needs to leave, and I'm going to leave with, no additional energy that I'm taking? Do you have a special little ritual like I do when you go investigate?
Yeah, I kind of do. So when I go to an investigation, whether it's a house, a business, a cemetery, whatever,
Hmm.
I will always start off with saying, look, we're not here to hurt you. We didn't mean no disrespect. We're not here to insult you. Please don't hurt us. We are not going to hurt you. I just kind of let them know. I introduce myself and whatever, and the team, if they're with me, and just kind of go from there. And we just like say, please protect us and what have you. And then when we leave, we definitely just say, okay, we're leaving now. Thank you for joining us. And now please stay here and we will come back and visit. And
Mm.
so there's things that I do, like I bring things to my mom. Got this gorgeous large crystal necklace that it's too heavy to put on my neck, but I bring that with me a lot of the times. My honorary mother, Kari, she gave me this like really neat graveyard mist and Florida water that I kind of just put on me to cleanse me as well. And
Hmm.
I try to do what I can. I know it's never guaranteed. It's interesting though, because a lot of people I've talked to who've had attachments, they're like, okay, after a while, I'm just like, please leave me alone. And it worked. And I'm so mad at myself. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? This guy, I should have like charged him rent because he was with me for so long. Why didn't I just say, hey, hit the bricks, sweetheart? But of course that didn't work out.
Right. I always say, it's important to have a bit of a ritual there when you're doing it. Let me see
Yeah.
if I can pull this picture, because you were at that location and you, um, let's see here. Where is this picture?
So
Where is it? Here it is.
yeah, so this picture,
Tell us
this
about
is
that picture.
this is the enhanced picture. I also sent you the original. So what you see here, this was from Watt and Tarbell Mortuary in Tombstone, the one I just talked about. And the spirits there get very touchy-feely. They're very communicative.
Mm-hmm.
It's phenomenal. Anyways, we were standing there. It was at the end of the investigation, and this was back in 2016. So it wasn't Nora, but it was her sister Stacy. And Stacy said, "Why don't you girls go over to that little bar and just stand there to the ladies and put your hands down on the bar?" And so we do. And she's like, okay. She starts talking to the spirits, saying there's some pretty ladies at the bar. Do you want to give them a drink? Because there's like a tequila and some
I'll
shots.
take a drink.
Right. Oh yeah, after today I sure will. But it was
Me too.
interesting. She's like, okay, well, she's talking to the spirits and stuff. And all of a sudden, throughout the night, we've had a spirit communicating with us about hair. I guess the spirit is a man. He loves hair. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's like talking like hair, tug, pull, yank, whatever. And this girl standing next to me with really, really long hair. And she's like, oh my God, something's grabbing me. And so I look, and I'm standing right next to her. I could literally see her, like a chunk of her hair like this being moved to the side by itself by like unseen hands. It was so wild. So I start to take pictures, and in the pictures, all you see is the bar and the background, you know, and that's it. Well, this picture, you could clearly see a noose, and that noose was not a prop. It wasn't there. And you could see this like weird blue figure down below. And then right here, so in the darker picture, which is the original, you can't see this guy. All you can see is the noose and the figure. But in this, you see this figure, you see this head right here. He's dangling. You can see his torso in line with the, yeah, you could see that in line with the noose. You could see his face, even like his eyes, and then you could see his arm like dangling. And
right under the noose, or to the right of the noose?
Yeah, to the right of the noose.
I see. I see. So you see like a bigger image. Can you see my little crosshairs going here?
Yes. Yep. So that's his torso, and then his head is right there where you are, and then his arm is right. Yep, right there. Yep.
Okay. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's just a bar behind there. There's none of this, and you guys taking it at night, right?
Right. There was nothing there at all. And
this noose is bright orange for some reason. And this is, what kind of a camera were you using? Like a night?
It was a Nikon. It was a Nikon. So I believe I sent you the original. Are you able to show the one with the black dark ground? Because it's more, the noose is like more red, and the it's just
let's see. So that was the enhanced one, and this one is.
Yes, that's the original, and you could see that you can't really see the figure. I mean, now that I know that it's there, I could kind of barely see it, but you could definitely see that noose is a little on the redder side. But I mean, to me, this is the Old West. This is the Wild West. People were executed by hanging. This isn't like today where it takes like 40 years on death row, you know, like it was very swift justice. And so several suicide hanging victims, several executed men, and
so that's the original one you just took when it was dark. You just took a picture, right?
Yeah, I took several pictures, and this was the only one that was like that.
Oh, it had this really bright colored noose, and then
the blue figure. Wow. Yeah.
And then the blue figure. Wow.
And this was at Juan Tarbell Mortuary. This was at the mortuary, and very active place. I mean, I recommend anybody to go there, really. I think they do nightly tours where they talk about the you know, the location itself, the history, and then they do the investigating, and it's very a neat place.
How about this one?
So this one is Waverly Hills. That's my friend David, and I don't know what he was doing there. He lives in Louisville in Kentucky, and he's a firefighter. Gotta love those heroes. And so he had been there several times being a Louisville boy. And so he was like, let's go. So me and him went, we did an overnight investigation. And it was amazing. We got a lot of stuff. I got touched. He got touched, several things. There were times where he would just kind of like disappear without telling me, which I'm okay with, but just like tell me, just so I'm like, not like, okay, what's going on, you know? But this is one of the pictures. I was feeling really weird, and I just took it. And it looks like he's like being punished. Like he's like looking at the wall going, okay, I'm in timeout. And again, I don't know what he was doing. And I showed him this picture, I believe. But yeah, you just see this kind of like misty, kind of like thick thing. Like
that diagonal bit of light, you mean? Yeah.
It's like.
And he didn't feel anything at the time, or felt weird or anything
not
like
at
that,
the
right?
time. But you know, Louisville, I mean, like Waverly Hills, we had a lot of stuff happening. Like at one point I felt like I was being chased, and so I like was running, and this is one of the points where he wasn't with me, and I found him down the hall, so I ran towards him, and I was telling him, God, I feel like I was just chased. And I wasn't alone, and I got an EVP of a man starting talking like he's like right behind you, or oh no, he said, gonna get you, and just different things like that. It's like so intense. And then of course you're dancing with the bats in Waverly Hills, like there's bats everywhere, and it was like
those are scary too.
Oh, I know. It was like, okay, please. I mean, and they like go where you could feel the air from their wings, but they never hit us. I mean, they were pretty phenomenal with that, but they definitely don't know their space. But yeah, we got a lot of different things in Waverly Hills, but that was a really interesting picture.
How about another one? What's another good one that you'd like for us? How about the orange one or the rainbow one?
Oh, you could do, yeah, whichever order you do, I'll you
All right,
choose.
here we go. This it's a lovely orange here.
Yeah, this one is at Fort Point in San Francisco. And this is before I was actually investigating. We were just there for the history. I always love going to different places. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were just really there, just checking things out. And we were in this one area, and I I really felt weird. I felt something was there. I just, I've been investigating with tools for about 10 years, but like I said, for since a kid, I've been investigating with my mind and body.
Right?
And my camera. And so I start taking pictures, and there's this thing, I mean,
Was this
uh,
outdoors or indoors?
this was in a this was in a building, but it was like there were windows and stuff, and it was during the daytime, and all the other pictures came out normal. And I don't know, this one was like all crazy orange with this like weird thing, and then I don't know if you could see it more like to the in the middle, kind of to
Mm-hmm.
the right. There's this like other little weird thing. So you see obviously this bright long thing from top to bottom,
What is
but
that?
yeah, I really can't tell you. I don't, it's just so interesting, but
Did
and
you
it
get an
might not have
EVP
even.
on it, or is it just a
No, I didn't get anything on it. I didn't have any tools with you, mind you.
okay?
I was.
So this is a camera, and you felt like you needed to take a picture, and boom, this one popped out, and the other ones didn't, right?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Let's see.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And that one I took probably like 16 years ago or something. Yeah, so this one, when you say orb in the paranormal world, a lot of people are huge naysayers when it comes to orbs. And with me personally, I'm like, okay, it's either a bug or dust or some other type of some other type of thing where
Mm-hmm.
I'm debunking it. But there's times where I take a picture, and I don't even like to call them orbs. I call them like balls of light. And it's like a ball of light, and you see faces in them. And it's like kind of like, okay, holy shit, this is intense. And so this
Right.
was at Commodore Mine in Colorado, in a cool place where I recommend people to go. It's Bachelor's Loop in Creede, Colorado. And it was it's a small town, but it was a huge booming mining town back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And Bachelor's Loop, it's on a dirt road, and you could just see all the several different mines, like Commodore and Last Chance mine.
These are mines that go down into the ground, right?
Yeah, yeah, but they
All
also
right.
have the huge like Commodore mine. If you Google image Commodore mine in Creede, it is just this huge, gigantic old building. Like, it's just, you look at it and you go, wow, like so many things have happened there, and so many miners died there. It's
Mhm. Right.
excuse me, so many miners have died there. Like, one time I was there, and we were conducting an EVP session, and I said, can you tell us your name? And
Right.
I got a man whispering McDonald. And it took me a long time going through the Colorado mining logs. Excuse me, the frog's in my throat. But I actually found that a man named R. McDonald did die there. And so it was just, I love that when you're investigating and you get these EVPs and they might not make sense to you, but then when you do your homework and you do your research, you're like, oh
Mhm.
my God, this is awesome. Like, yeah, that little piece goes here in that paranormal puzzle. But anyway, so Commodore Mine, we're here. I took this picture, and this is at Commodore Mine. Commodore Mine is actually in the background, but here, I mean, behind this, yes. So
I see the face.
in the middle, oh yeah, it's so clear. You could see this face. I call it like the Cherub Angel. Like, it almost looks like you see those puffy cheeks, you see that cute little button nose, you see that chin, you see those two eyes, the curly, like, the curls, like the bangs or the hair right there. And then he's like looking up kind of like this, and then up above him, kind of to the right, you see this like upside down head. And it's like you see the eyes and the nose, and you see the forehead and the eyes and the nose, and that's really it. But that place is very active, tons of history. This was another piece of evidence that I just thought was so phenomenal.
It's interesting, yeah. And how do you look at it? Do you feel like these spirits are stuck there, just visiting because you're there and they want to? What is your take on it? And I'll tell you mine.
I personally, I don't think they're there because of me. I think that I don't know if they are miners who died there, or if it's hard to say. Like the one in the middle could either be a very young man or be a child. Like that could have been a miner's child.
Oh, I see a hat on his head.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Now that you say that, it like I always thought it looked like curled like bangs, not like, like that, but like, just like little curls. But it could be a cowboy hat. Holy crap. Yeah. Oh my.
I mean, that's the way. So you think that, they're just kind of there, they're hanging out, and they're just trying to see if they can make a connection with people? Is that what you think? Because, there's no right answer. So it's like, it's opinions. All right.
Right.
The way I look at it is that when you're in a space, I typically don't think that they're like stuck there hanging out there smoking a cigarette waiting, but when there's active human energy or energy there, that they'll either come because they're curious, they'll come by and see what's going on, and either mess with you, pull your hair, chat with you. So I kind of think, and this is just an opinion because we all have opinions, I kind of think that when we're investigating that, that's a place that was very either special to them or traumatic to them, and you're just kind of giving them an opportunity to come and visit during that time. So when you leave, their energy doesn't need to stay there because, what's going to keep them there? They don't really want to stay in the mine where they died, is the way I look at it. So I feel that if you're the right people, they'll come and visit because, you've got such cool energy that, you're going to be attracting people who are like, oh, who is she? I know she could probably hear, see, or sense me, and therefore I'm going to make a point and say hello. That's the way I kind of look at it. It's like, I hate to think somebody is like stuck in like, oh my God, why can't, when I was doing an investigation at the Hanoi Hilton in Vietnam, I didn't feel any active energy, but I did feel their residual emotions that were stuck in that place. And for me, I get real dizzy when I get this residual energy. And then active energy is when they're actually communicating and when you get an intelligent response and so on and so forth. That's the key. Is it an intelligent response, rather than just a response? That's the way I look at it. But it's really fascinating. What other image would you like to look at on here that you brought me? I see something with stairs at the bottom of the stairs. I see outdoors with a
oh, you just share whatever, you just show and tell, right, whatever.
First of all, I'm going to do this one right here. I'm going to plug your book. Do you see? Is that what we're looking at?
Yep, that's her.
So this book is about some of these investigations, right?
Yeah. So you'll see a lot of Arizona investigations in there, a lot of Colorado in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple North Carolina, not too much going on in North Carolina, so I don't really investigate there too terribly much, and I don't really know anybody there, but yeah, you see a lot of different Kentucky's in there, Alabama, a few different places, few investigations, and I talk about the evidence collected. Nice. And different things like that.
Where can they get this book?
So you can get it from like Barnes and Noble. You can get it from Amazon, but what I really recommend is if you get it personally through me, you could email me, or
and you'll sign. You'll probably give them a little, sign or autograph the opening, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I usually write like a little thing in there and I
Right.
autograph it. And then I make these bookmarks. I'm kind of a crafty person, and so I make my own bookmarks. So each book that you get from me has a bookmark, and each bookmark is different.
Oh,
It has
wow.
something different that about it, but one thing that's always the same is that there's a headstone at the bottom of the there's a headstone at that I made at the bottom of the bookmark that says "Read in peace." So it's still R.I.P., but it's kind of corny. But anyways,
Oh, it's cute. So what's your
oh,
what's your email address? And maybe Robin, you could put this in the comments. These are for
yeah,
people to email Tessa directly to purchase the book, and then she'll make you, she'll sign it and she'll give you a handmade bookmark. So
right,
what is
absolutely. And
that?
so yeah, it is paranormal.prowlers.podcast@gmail.com. Again, it's paranormal.prowlers.podcast@gmail.com, or you could find me on Facebook under Tessa Mauro, TessaMauro, and or on Twitter under Para Prowlers as well. But yeah, it's a neat book. It also, I talk about my medium encounters and different things like that as well. And it's just a fun book, and that's my first book. I'm actually in the process of publishing my second book, and I'm working on my third book.
And
And
these are all about investigations, right?
this book is, the other books are kind of about other people's encounters. So each chapter is about somebody else. And okay, so yeah, this picture is at the St. Nicholas Hotel in Cripple Creek, Colorado. Cripple Creek is a really phenomenal mining town. They still have um the mine that is functional there. I think if I remember, 24 hours a day they're working in there.
Mm-hmm.
And very intense place. They actually have donkeys just roaming around there. They
Oh,
have their
sweet.
residential donkeys, and they're actual ancestors from the mining mules. So really fantastic. They even have their own donkey vet, and it's just so precious. Like if they have a motorcycle rally, which I think they canceled this year because of the Rona, but usually they
Right.
have it. They'll kind of corral them all up and keep them safe, and they just love their donkeys. But anyway, this is the Hotel St. Nicholas. This used to be a hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and we stayed in the room where they put, where they would do the operating, and a lot of people died there. But right here, there's and in this picture it's not shown, but to the left, to the left before the stairs, there was like this like weird furnace looking thing. We were standing
Okay.
there, me and my cousin and his wife, and we're standing there and we're talking, and all of a sudden rocks are thrown at us, and we were the only people there that night. It was in the middle of winter, nobody else was staying there. It was just kind of like, they even closed the bar and restaurant early, much to our dismay, and gave us the keys and locked the door and said, okay, the hotel's yours. And so we set up like time lapse and different things like that. But yeah, we were just kind of standing there, and all of a sudden you see these rocks get thrown, and they hit the furnace, and they even hit my cousin's wife. And it was just,
Mm-hmm.
I took a picture, and this is what showed up.
What are we looking at here? What should we
So
be looking at?
I don't know if it was a malfunction with the camera or what, because I took several pictures and this is the only one that came out like this. But after those rocks were thrown, yeah, it's just kind of like a weird kind of light, or
Okay.
I don't know what you want to call it, but there's just something there. And it's a really neat place, you guys. If you're in Cripple Creek, go check it out. Hotel St. Nicholas, very neat place, a lot of history. It's just a really cool old westy kind of place.
And so when they're throwing, it's like little pebbles, right? Little
Yeah.
tiny pebbles.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And they're just
Yeah.
kind of like, they're not, they're just, and the question is why? Why do you think that your pebbles are being thrown?
Yeah, I don't know. And come to think of it, it's actually weird because this was in Colorado, but when we were in Virginia, me
Mm-hmm.
and my boyfriend went to meet my cousin. He was there for some basketball thing or whatever. Or no, he was there for work. I'm sorry. We met with him there, and this is the same cousin who was with me in Colorado at that hotel. And we're in Norfolk, and we're at this old cemetery where when you're walking on the ground, it feels like your feet are sinking in, like to the earth. Like it was kind of eerie, and it was dark, and we were unfamiliar with the area, and the cemetery was really cool. But we were standing there. There's this like cool looking like Egyptian tomb, and we're standing there, nobody's around us. I'm always like looking around and stuff, and I always tell people I'm more afraid of humans than spirits. I'm more afraid of like human interactions, and so I'm like always on my toes. But anyways, all of a sudden this rock whizzes past mine and my cousin, and my boyfriend's standing there too, and we all see it. We look behind us and there's nobody there, and the rock had such force that it was thrown and it hit the tomb, and I took that rock to my house. But of course, but
rock collector.
Right, but it was just interesting because I just now thought of that. It's like holy shit, my cousin was there with me both times. I had rocks thrown at me, so I don't know if it's me or him or a combination of us. I have no idea, but yeah, I don't know. This rock was bigger. If it hit us, it would have done damage, but it clearly went right past our heads, where in Colorado they were tiny pebbles or whatever, but they were still noticeable because they hit the furnace thing that was there, and they made sounds, and we saw, but, and I didn't take any of those. But
I have questions for you. What's the difference between a ghost and a spirit? If there is a difference, in your opinion.
Yeah, and I don't know, and that's a good question, but in my opinion, really, and it's just my opinion, I don't know, but
all of this is
I think that just like there's so many different words. Yeah. Hold on, sorry. Sniffles.
Right, there's so many words, and on my website, kevinpaulpsychicmedium.com, I actually have a definitions page for all these things. It's just a repository of like, what does this mean? Or the definition, what's the, the proper name for it that we're using? And then,
right.
So there, you're right. We don't have common words yet.
Yeah, there's like you said, there's so many words like wraith, phantom, ghost, spirit, spook. Like there's so many different words that cool. I mean, I know, and I have so many friends in the paranormal field. I made so many friends throughout the years, just phenomenal, fantastic people. And I'm sure some of them might be watching going, I know the answer. But
it's their answer. It's their answer.
A lot of people, but yeah, it's so, I know, it's like I can't answer that. It just
I've heard some people say that ghost is the energy of the spirit that is still on this earth, or in between, this vibration and the beyond, going into the light, and that's the ghost. And the spirit is that which has already moved on and is not stuck, but can come and visit. Like when I do mediumship readings, like I did just yesterday, I'm able to connect with those energies that have moved on and provide evidence of who they were, what's their personality, what did they do with you, what was their hobby, even down to how did they die, and then I can get a message for that person. But with ghosts, it's like I get their personality, I get why they're in that space, why are they traumatizing that family, and so on and so forth. So that's the way that's what many people think, that's the difference between the two. But
yeah, no, that does make sense too. And I need to apologize in advance if I'm kind of like nutty or weird when it comes to some questions. I had a family emergency last night that kept me.
I know you haven't slept. It's like you've done an investigation and you haven't slept yet.
Right. Yeah. I feel like I like paranormal hangover times 20.
You got the paranormal hangover. But TV shows, Ghost Adventures or The Dead Files or Kindred Spirits?
Dead Files, totally. And I know I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, but I cannot stand I cannot stand Ghost Adventures. I used to watch it several years ago when they first started, but Zach is too cocky. I don't like that. There was one episode where he was like, oh, do you see this? Guys? Why this guy's face is all blurred out? Okay, little boy and girl paranormal investigators, it's because trespassing's a crime. Well, no shit, Sherlock, but you're saying like all you little boy and girl, just because we don't have okay, I'm sorry,
A
I can't.
TV show, right?
Yeah, but it's just like you're talking down. I was interested
You
in
all are colleagues. You guys are not at a
yeah, but
different
it's like you
level.
were just a DJ, like this little nerdy DJ a long time ago when I was in the paranormal way before you,
Right.
whatever. But I have to say, the Dead Files, I love the Dead Files. Steve DeShavi is a friend of mine. He
Oh,
is
cool.
phenomenal. He's been on my podcast once, and we're gonna do it again in a few weeks when he has time. He's filming right now, but he was on my radio show 3 different times, and he is just like, he's hilarious. He
No
cracks me up.
nonsense.
He isn't, he was with the NYPD homicide unit for several years, and he is a no bullshit kind of guy. He's a kind of like take the bull by the horn kind of guy, and he is just so friendly and accommodating, and he's so sweet. And it was so funny. He was like, yeah, there's sometimes where like I'll post a picture and someone's like, oh, you're filming there, you should come stop over here at this place and I'll buy you a drink. And he's like, the fuck you thinking? I'm working here. I can't go investigate. It's like, I always like joke say he curses like a sailor, but he is like one of the nicest guys. He even says every single time he's on my show or podcast, whatever I'm doing, he's always like, look, I've had fans write me on Facebook or social media saying, oh, I saw you at the cigar bar, or I saw you here and I was just too nervous to say hi. I didn't want to bug you. And he's like, you guys, I love meeting fans. Come and give me a hug.
Right. I know. It's great.
And, I mean, he is so down to earth, and that's what I like when and I've like I said, when I say meet, I haven't met a lot of these people, but we're friends on social media. We communicate with each other. We appear on each other's shows and stuff. But when I had my radio show, it was like almost every single show I had people, like even like Ghost Adventures, the researcher, Jeff Belanger, he is a freaking awesome dude. I love that guy. He's been on twice. He was on my podcast and my radio show.
And is he the producer?
He is the researcher for them. Like he'll research locations and stuff. And he has his own thing. He has he has his own podcast and he has different things, and he's an author too, and a bunch of cool stuff. But yeah, Scott Porter, Doogie, people from like, Ghost Asylum, different shows I've had on, and we all have one in common, just that passion for the paranormal, whether you're famous and well known, or you're someone like me where, you're just some gal with a podcast and, you're investigating your heart out. You have that passion, and the community is so strong. So you guys who are Ghost Adventure fans, if I offended you, I didn't mean to. I used to love that show a long time ago, and just because I don't doesn't mean shit. I'm just Tessa Mauro. I'm just a crazy broad. But one show I really like too that's kind of newer, 2 of them actually, is Paranormal 911 and Paranormal Emergency. So basically those people are police officers, something in law enforcement, they're ambulance, they're EMTs, and a lot of the time those people by nature, usually not every single one obviously, but a lot of them are skeptical. It's kind of like, I need to see this to believe it, and that's good. But I just love those, and I've actually had a lot of people from those shows on as well, including this past Monday. I had a sheriff, a sergeant with the sheriff's department for 25 years. He's retired now, but I had him on. So it's like I always love having people on and hearing their stuff and whatever.
Nice. I would love to chat with some of those folks on here and get their perspective too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could send
you'll have to connect me once they get to see you and see you on this show, because you don't normally do video. And
I don't. I mean, this space is not for TV. That's why I hide behind the mic. I'm like, okay, radio, podcast. I don't want to scare people.
You look great. We love looking at like the bikes and the books and everything. So it's really fun. I mean, and your energy is which is really wonderful. I mean, I can see why spirits are like trying to get your attention when you go places, because like, they know you're sensitive enough to sense and feel them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might be able to hear them inside your head.
Oh, I hear them it's usually a man, and it sounds exactly like an EVP, and I'll hear it immediately though.
You're
And
clairaudient. You're
yeah,
clairaudient. You're
uh-huh.
clairsentient.
Yeah, and
So
I'll get the phantom smells. There's this one place we lived in Colorado in Del Norte. It's in the San Luis Valley. A lot of
mhm.
incubus and succubus cases. It's a crazy active location. There's like a demon house and just a bunch of stuff there. But yeah, I lived in this house in this top area where it's like 3 storefronts on the bottom. It's huge, and we had the whole top. And it was just this beautiful location. It's actually my mom's building and she owns it. And so we lived there, and it used to be the old lumber yard decades earlier. And there were
Mhm.
times where we would be sitting there watching a movie, binge watching shows or whatever, being there for several hours. And all of a sudden in my head, I would smell like cedar or pine or something. And it was so intoxicating that it would give me a headache. And
Mhm.
I would be like, Justin, Casey, my boyfriend and sister, come here real quick. Can you smell this? And they would come right next to me and be smelling the whole area. They couldn't smell a single thing.
Right, right.
It was so strong. And I'm like, how can you not smell it? I feel like my head's about to explode.
Well,
Like,
you're clairolfactant, which is, instead of a clairvoyant, they can see, but a clairfactant can smell. A clairsentient, you can feel, sense, and know. Clairaudient, you're going to hear. So you're gathering information that way. So that's all it
okay.
is. It's just your natural ability. And by doing this, you've kind of tuned it and fine-tuned it through the years without, without even trying. You're just kind of putting yourself out there. And so that's what's happening. These are your natural clairsentient. I call them the classic clairs. Smelling is very unusual. And seeing is very unusual, but the
Yeah.
feeling is the most important. The feeling is the most
Right.
important.
I've seen things too. When one of my former best friends passed away,
Mm-hmm.
I was like sitting on the I was sitting on the TV. I was sitting on the couch. So the way my living room was set, there was like a long couch against the wall, and then there's the fireplace across from that, and then a little chair, like a recliner, and then the TV. And I was sitting on the recliner watching the TV, and I was crying. I was really upset. My friend was only 27, and I
Right.
was just like beside myself. And I closed my eyes, and I was by myself at the time at the house, and I was just like, I closed my eyes and I was like, God, why can't I stop fucking thinking about you? And I was so mad. And because it was making me sick where I was thinking about him constantly. And I opened my eyes, and when you feel like there's somebody there watching you, like you feel you're being watched, you're being watched. My peripheral vision, I could see my best friend sitting on the couch. And so you think, okay, she's gonna look and he's gone. No, I look, and he's sitting there, and he's just like, he was fine. He looked normal. Like he died from alcohol, and so he
Mm-hmm.
overdrank his life away. But he was just sitting there, and I'm watching him, and we're staring at each other. And I just knew that as soon as I closed my eyes, he's gone. And
Mm.
so I stared at him until I felt my eyes were going to fall out. And then when I closed them, I opened them, and he was gone.
Um,
But
but see,
so
sometimes
yeah,
you get a little clairvoyance there. It sounds like a little clairvoyance, but
yeah, I've always
that's
considered myself sensitive for sure, because it's like,
oh
yeah, I
yeah,
see things, I
absolutely. You
feel
definitely,
things.
Tessa, you definitely are. And
Yeah.
in my school, I teach one-on-one how to people to develop that on demand. So you're kind of seeing it and experiencing it because
Yeah.
you're in the field and you're open to it and you want it. And so that's kind of like you're kind of doing on-the-job training there. And
Yeah.
I always teach students, if you're in those situations, ask the spirit, how can I help you? How are you doing? And see what you get. You may not hear their answer, but you may feel that they're doing fine, or you can feel that they're happy to see you. So that's another way. I encourage you to do that. When you feel like you're around them, just say, I sense you. How can I help you? Give me some information. See if you can, find out who is this that may be around you, because you have that ability. You absolutely have that ability. So I'm
Yeah.
encouraging you to engage that energy with your thoughts. Okay.
Okay.
Next time, just say, ask a question and see how you feel for the answer, because you may not hear the answer. Just say,
Right.
welcome. I always ignite it. How can I
Yeah.
help you? And see if you can get a sense of, oh, I'm just curious, or I need some help, or, what are you doing here? This is my space. Get out. Just I encourage you to do that, because you are a natural sensitive with OJT, on the job training.
Right. Well, and it's funny because I'm even afraid to say, like, what are you doing? Get out of here. Because I tell you, the only time I ever was inappropriate and provoked and broke my number one freaking rule, like
Right.
not doing that.
Right.
Um, what you see in most of the shows, including Ghost Adventures, they're taunting, being like, but I I did that. I was in front of the Bisbee Massacre dudes, and I was just like, "You guys are assholes. You deserve to be hanged. You killed a bunch of people, including law enforcement. I'm a huge law enforcement supporter. A lot of family and law
Right.
enforcement and friends. And I was like, you killed a cop. You killed a
A
pregnant woman.
pregnant
Like,
woman.
yeah,
Right.
you get,
Right.
and
Right.
everybody else was innocent bystanders. It was like, how dare you guys? And mind you, Kevin, it was 118 degrees that day in Arizona, a crazy Arizona summer day. And I lost my cool. And as I was doing it, I was like, what are you doing? Don't be stupid. Like, why are you doing this?
Right.
But I was
Why are you
doing it.
provoking? Right.
Yeah. And it's so unlike me. I never did it before and I've never done it since. And
What
so it
happened?
was
Did anything happen after that?
I got an attachment. Yeah, it was
Uh-huh.
that day. And that's where the man was buried. And as I was walking away, because I had my recorder the whole time. Now, with that cemetery, that being Boot Hill, my mom, she went there several years earlier and she had given me a little pamphlet booklet that talks row by row, grave by grave, who it is, how they died, whatever, the inscription of the headstone. And I
Mhm.
would read it forever, and I read it so many times throughout the years. So I brought it with me when I went to Tombstone. I was like, okay, I'm so excited or whatever. And when I got there, I think it was 109. And by the time I left, it just like plummeted, like it skyrocketed the temperature. And so I really think that, and I was recording the whole time. So like if I saw people, it was so hot that people were going in, you have to pay $10 to go in there,
Mhm.
out there to the cemetery. And so people were paying and they were going for a few minutes and leaving. So me, I'm a
Oh,
huge
wow.
debunker. I would like debunk. I would say, okay, someone's here. I'm going to stop real quick or whatever. So, and when I heard something, I would say, okay, like person or kid in the background or whatever, I would debunk things. So when I heard it later, well, at one point I'm walking away from the men that I just taunted. Okay. So I'll tell you this first because I was already doing it, but I was walking away and I hear a man, I didn't hear it at the time, but on the recorder, a man saying, come back. So he's like, and that was pretty crazy. And so,
And you didn't hear it at the time, right?
oh no, I didn't hear
Ah,
it at
too
the
bad. You
time.
could have turned around and gone back.
I know, right? I would have said, what do you want? But it was interesting because when I was standing there, they're all buried right next to each other. And John Heath is not buried with them. He's at a different area, but which was the mastermind. But these men were all buried right next to each other. So I was like, okay, I would say the name of one, and then I would walk and say the name of the other one. So like, okay, Bill Delaney. And then all of a sudden my recorder, and again, not with my ears, but my recorder all of a sudden was like these like weird gasping sounds. And remember, they were all legally hanged.
Right.
So Bill Delaney, Tex Howard, like, and again, the debunker in me, I would say it if I heard it. I would say, okay, I'm hearing this weird sound. What the hell is it?
Did
But I
you
didn't
hear
hear
it? Did you hear it out here or did you hear it in here?
I heard it with the EVP. I heard it with the
Ah, you heard
recorder.
it with the EVP. So it was like a
Yeah. So
recording.
I,
Okay.
right. So I didn't hear it at the time. And it was just really interesting. But yeah, it really, it's a neat
Mhm.
place. It's a neat place to check out. Don't go in the summer where it's like 118 degrees. But like that's the only time I was ever broke my number one rule. And I haven't done it
You got
since.
angry.
And
Yeah, there's
that's
no
why I'm
need
like,
to get angry at them, right?
huh?
There's no need to provoke them.
No, there isn't, like I don't, and I can understand like why some people might do it if they have a show, because if they don't get results, they don't get ratings,
Oh,
then
yeah,
they
you
don't
don't
have a
get a good
TV
show.
show.
You need
Right?
some excitement.
Absolutely. I could totally understand that, but I don't have a show. I don't need to do that. Like everything I get, it's nothing's manipulated. It's all legit. It's all, and when you go through the audio, that's a job all in itself. It takes hours going through it. You're debunking, you're writing things down, you're doing everything. And so
Right.
you're when you get an EVP, you're rewinding it till your ears bleed. There's times
Oh
where
yeah,
I would
that's the
like
problem.
write. Yeah, that's when I take a break. But there's like so many times where I'm like writing things down and listening and stuff all day. And then I stop and I'm watching TV, but I could still hear them in my head. I mean, like, because I was listening to it for
Right.
so
Yeah.
long. I'm like, okay, I need to stop for a while. But yeah, it's
That's the tough part about when you guys do investigations. You've got to
yeah,
review the data and review it again and have other, so it takes a lot of time. When I do investigations, it's like I'm using my abilities, the clairaudience, the clairsentience, sometimes whatever I'm picking up, I will tap into and just start writing, for example, or I'll feel it when I'm
yeah,
helping other people. Like, oh, we've got an angry, we've got an angry energy here that really, this is their original house. They don't want you here, and this is
yeah,
why they're activating everything in the house, to get you out, to scare you out. And I've done some interviews of some families on the Dead Files, and have done some
cool.
shows on them and explain. So these people who are having problems are sensitives as well, because if you're not sensitive, you're not gonna get a sense or feeling or hear it or whatever. So it's like,
Yeah,
and then I've got to teach these people about their sensitivities and how to protect themselves, what they need to do. And especially this one child was like, oh, I said, that one is a natural, medium. That's why he is, at night can't sleep. And these weird things are coming out of his voice, like he's talking in his sleep, and he's talking about all these horrible things because the dead are lined up coming to tell him their story. How can this
wow,
kid is going to be able, but he doesn't. So he doesn't have that 7 or 8, he can't deal with that. So let's protect him. This is what he
yeah,
needs to do every night to protect himself. Say, listen, we're not doing this. I'm here to sleep. Don't bother me, and do that every night to protect yourself, because, these people have sensitivities, and I help them understand what those are and what's going on, and kind of put it all together. Because when they may leave that house, but guess what? They're going to go another place, and they're going to be still sensitive, and they're going to pick up on whatever residual or active energy that's there. And that's what we
right,
talk about on those the Dead Files, when I do interviews with a couple of the families. It's like, oh,
yeah.
I found that theme. I'm like, oh, you guys are all sensitives, except for them, this person who didn't. Well, this person is not open. And so that's why they're not being adversely affected. Like Steve is probably not as sensitive. So, and he's not, he's not going to be open to hearing, sensing, feeling, or whatever. Right.
Right. Yeah. Steve, he's a really neat guy, but yeah, like his thing is that a lot of people will ask him, and he's told me this, that a lot of people say, like, what's the scariest thing you've encountered,
He's
and
like,
he's
nothing.
like, well, how about when I was walking through a door in a store and getting shot out during a shootout, or how about, like, when I was doing this or that. He's talking
Right.
about when he was a homicide detective, not doing ghost stuff, and
Right.
so,
Right.
but
Right.
that's why I
Right.
love him, because he's the researcher in him. He doesn't take BS. Like, there's many times we watch him going, hey, are you messing with me? Are you bullshitting with me right now?
I
Because
know.
I'll find out. Like, he's,
It's the cop in him, right? So I do like
oh
that's,
yeah,
and it's good for TV. Do you know
yeah.
Amy? Do you know Amy at all? Have you met Amy?
No, I haven't. She's one of those people that I've tried to communicate with in the past about being on, and I even let her know, like, hey, I know Steve, he's a cool guy. I'd love to have you on. And maybe she's just too busy, but she's never responded, never
Okay.
one time.
She's the elusive one.
Yeah, she is, which is fine. I everyone's different, but I do like it. I I like when people respond, even if it's a quick, hey, sorry, I can't do it. I'm not interested.
Right.
Just like,
And
you
that's
know,
I think, yeah, that's the way. It's a bit more polite.
yeah, you could say something, but anyways, that's my thought about it. But
All
yeah,
right.
I like that show because it's so different. They don't communicate with each other. They
Right.
I mean, one person's doing this, the other is doing this, going
It's
through
a
town.
different approach. Yeah, the history and
Right.
the details. Have you ever watched Kindred Spirits?
I've watched it a couple times. Yeah, I actually had the medium Stephanie Burke. She's not on that show anymore, but she was for, I think, like the first 2 seasons or something. I had
Mm-hmm.
her on my radio show, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, she was really a sweet gal and
I
stuff.
want to get Chip Coffee on this show. Chip Coffee on the show?
I don't. Chip's another one that won't respond. He's a
He is
non-responder.
a hoot. It's like, because he's just, bigger than life, kind of a guy. I think it'd be funny.
Right. And he always wears scarves. I actually make my scarves. I think even one time I said, "Hey, I'll make you a scarf," and nothing. No
No,
bites. It's like
he's
hit the
too
bricks.
busy talking about politics on Twitter, so he's a hoot.
Oh, yeah. And see, with me, I've even had people say, "Hey, Tessa, why don't you talk politics on your show?" And I'm like, you know what? If I wanted to be like that, if I wanted to be like Rush Limbaugh, I would have my own show about that.
But
People go on Rush and other ones to listen to that stuff. I don't talk sports, I don't talk religion, and I certainly don't talk politics. A lot of people
smart
these days,
girl.
well, a lot of people these days, especially in Hollywood, they talk politics. They're like, screw you if you like this one, screw you if you don't. And I'm just like, why do that? My biggest follower, my biggest listener on my podcast can be a liberal or a Republican or whatever. I don't care, like do what you want to do, believe who you want to believe, like vote for who you want to vote for. But me, I'm not going to belittle you or agree with you or disagree. That's why we, have the freedom to think what we want. So I'm like, no, I will never, ever talk politics. That's why a lot of people are like, what are you? And I'm like, well, you never will know.
Ditto. So
I'm not going to tell.
So we've been talking for about an hour and a half. Amazing.
Wow.
So let's tell everybody how they can connect with you, how they can find your podcast, and
so you could find my podcast on basically anywhere from Spotify to God, there's like a million of them, and I always say them at the end of my thing.
Any of them, any of the places you could get a podcast, right?
Yeah, Deezer, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. There's Pocket Cast. There's Podcast Republic.
And the name of your podcast is?
The Paranormal Prowlers Podcast.
Okay, so look for Paranormal Prowlers Podcast on your favorite podcast.
Yeah, you could find it on there. Every new episode comes out every single Monday. Haven't missed one yet. I even do them on holidays and stuff. So for Christmas, like, as you know, you were on the Halloween.
I was spooky Halloween with my
investigation. Spooky. It was awesome. And I have a Christmas episode coming out that's going to be released midnight on Christmas. When I was in Tombstone, I actually ran into a gentleman named Alexander Folk, and he is the man who played the police chief in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Nice. And so he's the one who has this, who's like, "Mister, if I had a rubber hose, I would beat you with it." And that was actually a line Chevy Chase gave him. It wasn't part of the movie, but they gave him that, and people just love it. And so that's actually I had one episode that wasn't paranormal related, and that was when my friend survived the coronavirus. So he was talking about his journey through hell. But this is the second out of 90 episodes. It's going to be 2 years in April. Second out of 90 episodes that is not paranormal, but it's about all things Christmas and National Lampoon. I mean, like, who hasn't seen that movie, right? Like, that's a hilarious movie. And so, Check
it out. The Paranormal Prowlers Podcast, right?
Yeah, Paranormal Prowlers Podcast. You can find me under Para Prowlers on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook under Tessa Mauro or under Paranormal Prowlers. Again, the email paranormal.prowlers.podcast@gmail.com. And if you forget the name, just remember paranormal and prowler, like you're prowling through the yard.
You're prowling, you're looking
for. You're a prowler.
Excellent.
And so yeah, that's what I do. And I always, at the end, I have some people, like my aunt, she won't listen to my mom's sister. She like listens to my podcast sometimes, but she's like, I always have to stop at the end. She told my mom this. I always have to stop at the end because I have a monster voice that I've been able to do since I was like 2 years old. Mm-hmm. And so she said that the monster voice scares her. And so it's I don't know, it's funny. So I could be like,
Kevin Paul, Thank you for letting me on your show. I had so much fucking fun.
Oh my God. That's great. Well, Tessa, you're a woman of many talents, writer of an author of a book, podcast, you run your Facebook, Twitter. Oh my God.
Part-time monster. I mean, you know, it is what it is.
And a caregiver right now.
Yes, and a caregiver. Kevin, real quick, did I send you a picture? It's like of like this weird, like misty thing, and it has like a face in it. It's like dark out. I don't know if I sent you that, but I wanted to see if you have that real quick because
I see it looks like there's some squiggly line out there. Is that the one?
that one is really cool. That was at an old cemetery, and I believe that was possibly a woman, but I sent that one and then the other one, that other
One
picture.
looks like it's in a green. I see green on the walls. Is that it? No?
No. Oh, well, that's okay. But it was just like a very interesting picture. Like we didn't see it with our eyes, but the picture caught like this mist, and it looks like this, like, it looks like an Egyptian face. Like it has like this weird, I don't know. It was just really interesting. But this was at the same cemetery where that squiggly line is at. But
I must have forgot to grab
oh,
that
that's
one.
okay. No,
There's
no worries.
plenty to get the book. I'm sure they're in the book, right?
I have several in the book. Yeah. And so, yeah, you guys just remember, if you want the book, let me know. Go through
You'll
me
get it
personally.
autographed. If
You'll
you
get
go
an
through
autograph.
Tessa, you get an autograph.
And
You get a lovely book?
yeah.
Handmade book mark.
And right now, I think I have 20 copies on me. I usually buy like small batches at a time, and I believe I have 20. And so we ship them out. My dad, he buys college books and sells them through his company. So we're shipping books every day from the garage.
Nice.
And so if you order the book, it goes out. If it's later in the day, it goes out that next morning. And so
get your own Christmas gift from Tessa then.
Absolutely. And so it's usually if you go through like Barnes and Noble or any of those other places, Amazon, it's $16.99, and then, well, you know, shipping or whatever. So with me, it's shipping is usually like $3 throughout the United States at least. So I do an even 20, and I do Venmo and PayPal,
and you get an autographed book and a little, handmade bookmark. So that's
read in peace, baby. Read in peace.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And people can reach me on my website, kevinpaulpsychicmedium.com. And of course, on Facebook, it's the same thing. On Instagram, it's Kevin Paul Psychic Medium, but I do all my beekeeping videos and fun stuff on that because it's very visual. And sometimes I'll have some, interesting images. So that's where I put my Instagram stuff. And
nice.
My YouTube channel, this is going to go on my YouTube channel as well. Kevin Paul Psychic Medium, which is all these, psychic medium live shows, which, talking about people's journeys through this world of spirit, spiritualism, paranormal, whatever we want to call it. And I do personal readings and investigations myself, and we have a wonderful time doing, wonderful investigations in the paranormal, don't we, Tessa?
Oh, absolutely. It's so fun when you're able to do something that you're so passionate about and love.
It's fun, it's exciting, and it's like,
oh, it is.
It's like a mystery sometimes.
Oh, it absolutely is. And like I said, no investigation is the same. And so you never know what you're going to walk into. And it's quite literally. And so it's pretty phenomenal. And I could talk about the paranormal is one thing. Like once I learned somebody is into the paranormal, I feel like we just became best friends. Like, and I just could talk about it all day. And so I love swapping stories, and I love hearing other people's things. And it's phenomenal, from being touched to evidence to encounters with grandma or, whatever. Or
I know. It's amazing when I do readings, just to be able to communicate with spirit and, the lovely messages that I get from those versus when I do investigations. They may not be as lovely, but it's really touching. And I always call it, I'm in the, the healing arts. It's a ministry of healing when I do my work. When I'm out there, connecting and painting back a person and bringing a reunion with their grandmother or their uncle or whatever, it's really healing, and it's really joyful to be able to connect with that different energy.
Right. Absolutely. There's nothing like it. And it's so rewarding when you're
It is
able
very
to.
rewarding. Well, thank you so much, Tessa, for being on the show. You did great for your, I know you're not a, visual, but you look great, and you've got great backgrounds. We're all staring about the bikes and all the fun stuff, and you've got great stories, and you're really talented. And I really want to thank you again for being part of this show.
Thank you so much.
So freaky. I love it. Well done, you, as we say. Well done, you.
I had a bloody good time.
Me too. You have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Tessa. Bye-bye.
Bye.